able to get a panel of experts together who are going to talk about sustainability in their business. This might be very practical, tangible takeaway tips that we can all apply into our own businesses. So we're very, very fortunate and lucky to have these three people on very short notice. So can I welcome Sara, Dan, and Thanushi up, and we'll chat a little bit about sustainability. Excellent, and you all have your own mic there as well. So I'm going to facilitate this panel, just ask a couple of questions. We'll get through my questions, and then we'll open it up to some questions here as well. As I say, this is a good opportunity, I think, for us as wedding vendors to ask practical, tangible questions of wedding vendors who are doing this on a day-to-day basis as well, right? The other thing I should mention is that Nancy is going to record her presentation when she is able, so we'll be sending that out to everybody as well. So you don't miss out on that, you just get a bonus talk today. So I won't spend too much time introducing you all because we're going to do that together. But what I will say is that these are leaders in our community. They're doing really, really cool things within their own businesses. We're really fortunate to have them. So maybe before we get going, can we just go across our panel here? And can you tell us a little bit about your business and maybe some of the things you do to make your business sustainable? And can we start with you, Sara?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name's Sara. I am the owner of Function Design House. I'm coming up now my 9th year in the wedding industry here in Victoria, but just the 3rd of Function. For me, I actually face sustainability on 3 different fronts. Partially as a business owner, so looking at within my own processes and network how I can make my enterprise more sustainable. Partially as a planner, so that's working a lot with other vendors and education and having tough conversations about sustainability and what's kind and what's good when it comes to actually like the flow of the events. And then I also do design, where I'm more hands-on working with product and actual materials, deliverable like more akin to rental companies, caterers who have materials. And I could talk about any of the sustainability aspects of that, so please feel free to ask away. I can tell you about candle stand and using that in design, and I can tell you about how you talk about, you know, guest list and cutting that down and what's meaningful, setting priorities. But I think overall, probably the most applicable thing I can talk about is the real challenges, and I know we're going to get to that, so I won't yet, but the challenges that come with being sustainable. Like, we have hard conversations on the daily, and it's not all easy, and it's not all Instagrammable, so yeah.
Hi, everyone. I am Dan Shipley. I am the co-owner and chef of Mensch Kitchen and Catering, along with my brother Michael, who's filming me right now. Yeah, sustainability has been it's been a central philosophy of our business since we started. Probably more from a surface level at the beginning, where really it was just about how we source, being, you know, trying to bring in local ingredients, mostly because they're higher quality ingredients. But the more we got connected with agriculture and the more we connected with our community, the more it evolved to being something that kind of along the same lines as what Sara laid out, where we need to be sustainable as a business so that we can provide year-round employment, full-time employment for our staff, so that we can continue bringing in as much local produce, meat, seafood from our local suppliers as possible. And it continues. I'm really excited to be here, and thank you so much to Brian and Chelsea, because I don't think I've been in a group of people, a group this big, with people who are all in the same industry, who are all here to talk about sustainability, and I hope we really can dive into that together a little bit.
Nice. Hi, everyone. My name is Thanu, and I'm the owner of Wild Bee Florals. And I'm both a designer and a grower. And I think what's also interesting about this industry is folks tend to wear many hats. So it's like you do this, but then you also have something else that you're doing. So it's just, you know, we're all figuring out together how we can be more sustainable financially doing this as well. When it comes to sustainability, I look at it from how can my farm be as sustainable as possible, and that just means where am I sourcing my seeds, where, like, you know, if I'm coming up against any growing pressures, like what are the means for trying to solve that problem. And it can actually feel very overwhelming because there are so many different things to consider when you really start diving into sustainability. Like, so for example, at the farm, if we don't use landscape fabric to grow a lot of what we do for our wedding work, then we're going to be spending a lot of paid time weeding. And so but then we are also introducing some plastic into the farm. So it's just like, I think having a network of people that you can talk to and like knowing that, thinking about it and then trying to make those designed or growing or design decisions based on what you like know in your heart is like the best that you can do is like a really good strategy. Because even from the design perspective, so for example, like designing the florals for this event, I'm like, holy shit. Like, it's February and there's so many different things. Like, I can go, you know, based on Rad's wonderful ideas, like go into more of a, like, could I source a lot of dried stuff? Because that's like definitely, you know, sustainable. And I know that a lot of the farmers in our area grow it. But then if we really want to make sure that there's a lot of color, that means like, how can we source locally? So there's local vegetables growing. So, you know, Square Root Farm and Shore Wolf Farm, like we were able to get the wonderful radicchio. And then when it comes to the flowers, and the flowers are the interesting part. It's like, at this point, instead of trying to import flowers, we went through United Floral and only sourced local. So it's like, there's like the ideal situation of what you could do for the design front, but then there's like the realistic and what would everyone really like from that front. So yeah, sustainability.
Well, and I think that brings us well into a discussion of our challenges, right? But I think one of the things you highlight there too, and something that your florals highlight today, is that, you know, we often think about doing a sustainable wedding. It means, oh, we can't do as much. We have to do less. It's not going to be as exciting, right? But when you're finding creative solutions, it's like, well, it is February and it's snowing. Where are we going to find florals? We'll use a freaking cabbage, man. Like, those are so colorful. So yeah, there are really creative solutions around this, and it's really cool because I know that the three of you create creative solutions to all these problems. But let's talk first about some of the problems that you run into. So what are some of the challenges, and maybe I'll start with you, Sara, that you run into from a planning perspective?
I think it's really good to be talking about how sustainability can be challenging, but also how challenging is not a bad thing. It's actually something that I find like drives my creativity. It keeps me interested. It's, I mean, easier said now, like 9 years in, than it was year one, for sure. But that challenge, I think, of, you know, finding new ways to design, working within parameters. I did the launch event for Mensch, and it was a zero waste event, and the challenge was like, great, how do we make a super cool photo backdrop that's engaging and on brand and showcases their new thing that isn't just a single use item?
We also use radicchio.
Yeah, we did actually. It's good shit. But we, you know, like for that one, we stacked up crates, and they still, if you've been to a Mensch event, you see the crates at every single one. They're still being used to this day. So I think there's challenges that present itself like in the design process, like we're talking about. But for me, I think the biggest challenge that I faced and have mostly overcome was more so about having difficult conversations and setting expectations with clients. And again, I just want to say that it is easier now, well into it, than it was year one. But that's also, I think, where part of our responsibility falls as more experienced people in the industry, is like creating a sustainable event industry for everyone. So like, yeah, a client might come and ask me like, hey, great, actually I'm gonna have my photographer Kyle hang out of a helicopter. He's gonna work 16 hours and it's gonna be dope and it's gonna be the best thing you've ever seen. Why? Like, we don't have to do that. We don't have to go to extreme lengths. And I am very comfortable these days asking why. I say no a lot. Sometimes I say no on your behalf, vendors, when they're like, yeah, great, I'm gonna come and I'm gonna do my catering tasting on a Saturday. No. no. And I think for me, it's that clarity is kind, and sometimes no is kind, and you can't be sustainable when you're in a point of survival mode. I was in a survival mode, and I think if someone told me that while I was there, I'd been like, yeah, okay, but you don't understand. I have to actually, I have to say yes, I have to hustle, I have to go along with everything. Yeah, that's not really value aligned. I don't love tinsel, but I have to do it. And these days, more and more, we say no and we redirect and find new solutions. So to me, that's been the biggest thing. And the 4 things we always ask is it kind to the client? Is it kind to the world, so the environment, our community? Is it kind to other vendors? Because we all have to do this all the time. That matters. And is it kind to us as a team?
Dan, from a catering perspective, I know you do a lot of work in your kitchen, not only to source locally when that is available, but also to create solutions in the winter when a lot of those ingredients are not available. So what are some of the challenges that you run into when you're sourcing your ingredients? And what are some of the creative solutions you can come up with?
When we first started, we were operating out of a 8x10 food trailer, and we had no dry storage area. We had no storage. That created a situation where we were reliant on farmers to grow in times when you can't grow food. That doesn't work. So now that we actually have a place to store things, we got really deep into food preservation. So we, this past year, did a literal ton of tomatoes we canned. Last year, so the prior year when we did more than that, actually, we didn't have to buy any canned tomatoes from anywhere else throughout the entire year last year, and that was a huge deal for us. So things like that, we're just trying to find ways to extend the season for farmers, and then also letting them know that they can try to grow weird shit and we'll buy it. Radicchio is having its moment right now, and chefs are really showing up for it. So it's just kind of connecting with growers, letting them know there's a market for stuff that they might not have realized, and finding ways to just extend the season. Yeah.
Speaking of growing potentially weird shit, I know obviously running a farm in a snowstorm this week has been challenging. What are some of the challenges you run into when it comes to, let's say, creating and providing florals like this for events? What does that look like, and what are some of the headaches you have?
There are a lot of problem solving, but I think folks that are in it are also really passionate. I think a lot of designers are really they feel so fulfilled when they get to play, and so really making sure that how can you play with the least amount of worry is kind of a good approach, I think, for us as a team. So when it comes to growing, one of the things that I also told myself, especially last year and previous years, is don't try to focus on growing too many things in the greenhouse right away, because we've noticed, and here's the thing about growers, is we're not afraid of failure, because it happens all the time, and you just have to manage the extent of the failure. So we currently we have some tulips and some snapdragons, and there will be more ranunculus planted. But from previous years, the amount of stress that comes from winter planting, because we also lease the land, which is a big challenge actually when you think about growing and putting all of this energy into something that is not yours. It comes with an added pressure of how to be wise with your money and how you can be creative. But so knowing that I normally feel really stressed out in the winter if there's ranunculus growing and there's a hard frost coming and you have to cover it all up, or we've noticed rats eating newly sprouted ranunculus, then I'm you know what? I don't need to do this in the winter and cause a lot of anxiety attacks for myself. So that's a good way of curtailing what could potentially be a disastrous situation. But when it comes to design, I think from what we put out on our website through our online presence, I think folks are also attracted to a certain type of style. And so being very forward with what it is that we're able to do, I think helps get the proper clients coming our way too. And so they know that we don't do huge all white weddings, they notice that right away. And so I think being able to put what it is that you want out there has been a really good way to come across potential challenges right off the bat. I'm trying to think of, if you want to talk to me about growing challenges, I could just take the rest of this and talk to you. But when it comes to design, especially something like this, it's knowing who your networks are. So growing your networks and then working with them to be hey, do you have this? What do you have? And instead of going at it from this is the vision that I want to create, and instead being very flexible, being these are the materials that I have at my access, and so what can I do with them? So I think that is a really nice approach in design for me. Yeah.
And challenge is fun in design. It's where the good shit comes from.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I feel like that speaks to something that our clients just don't see, right? They arrive on the wedding day, but they have not heard about the rats in the greenhouse. And so, that's part of what we do is hiding that a little bit from the clients. But I think there's something to be said for them to understand where this has come from, and how much work and effort has gone into all these ingredients, and how much everybody in the room is doing to make that happen too, right? So I think that's part of making our industry as a whole more sustainable, is just telling people what it is that goes into this, so that we're not, as Sara said, killing ourselves to make this appear like magic, right?
And I was just going to add to that, it's something that is also a great client experience as well. We use our menus that we have to print functionally so that caterers can operate, so people know what they're eating, but we use it to tell the story. So tell the story of where that food came from. Why does it matter? It's a huge budget line item that people are spending, and being able to talk about that, or why we're at this venue, because it was really important, it's sustainable. Finding ways to communicate to even not just our clients, but the guests that are attending as well. What's going on? You might know that it's a fully sustainable cocktail. They don't know. Let's tell them, let's make that the standard. Let's make that what they're looking for.
And also communicate that it's not just, we're not just doing sustainability because it's trendy.
Yes.
We're doing it because the product is better. And that's really important, because if you want to attract clients that can, actually afford to hire the level at which you produce, and that's everyone here, all the talent here, you need to be able to show that quality comes first. And sustainability, yes, obviously, that's what drives us at Mensch, that's what drives a lot of people here, but quality comes first, and that's what's going to sell it at the end.
So I want to just ask you one more question before we open it up here. Resources. What has helped you along the way? Is there any one resource that you can point people towards, or one tip that you might have that would help people who are experiencing some of those challenges that you're encountering?
That's been the hardest part. I think that is one of the biggest challenges, is finding the resources to help you become sustainable. And the best one that we've found is our community. That's, there's folks out there. It doesn't necessarily even mean in this room or on Vancouver Island, but there's folks out there who are doing what you want to do throughout the world, so you got to call on them. You got to lean on each other. But yeah, that is the biggest challenge. And with us, with where we're at right now, cutting down waste from events, how do we do that in a way that we can redirect waste that's not just going to, a compost or a community garden, which is beautiful and that's great, but if it's still able to be eaten after an event, it really sucks to throw it out. So finding some way to do that, that's kind of the next step for Mensch.
Yeah, I think I would have to echo that. I think that, there's a lot of people in this room that I've looked up to, have learned a lot from, and continue to. But also, for us, when we're measuring success in sustainability, it's about meeting people where they're at and moving that bar, that 1%, maybe 10%. And in doing that, you end up interacting with people in ways that you might not have thought before. And it's really about talking and asking and being really candid about the challenges you're facing. I think as business owners, which a lot of us are, not all of us obviously, but it's really lonely. And there's not a lot. Like, I find myself talking to myself sometimes. So I think going back and forth, and like, I don't run a catering business. A lot of the sustainability aspects that like Michael and Daniel are doing are going to be different than what I need to do for my own, but just that thought process and the way that they think and the way that they problem solve and knowing that there's other people to bounce ideas off of has been, I think, the biggest resource. And so to add to that, like, please, anytime, planning, design, like, come chat. I've tried things, we've tried and failed, like you said. Like, we've done some of the hard work. And I think that, like, with an abundancy mindset where there is work for all, there's knowledge for all, that I think that this is the resource we should be building.
Yeah, I think my biggest resource is just all the interactions I've had that were driven by curiosity. Because the folks that are in our community, like, so for example, when I was getting started in the Comox Valley, being connected right away to who the Comox Valley growers are, and then not coming at it from like, tell me all the things, like I need all the answers, but coming like well-researched, like I've listened to so many growing podcasts, so many design podcasts, looked up things online. So it's just like, I think one of the biggest resources, or maybe the shifting of it, is being ready to learn through so many different avenues. Because there's so, like, for us, I'm super lucky in terms of the florist industry. Like, the conversation has really shifted. And so there's so many wonderful people that, Julia right there is like, Julie is amazing. Like, there's so many folks that really know and have tried and really are willing to guide others too. So finding those people are key.
Amazing. Thank you all for answering all of my questions here. I want to be mindful of our time. I want to give a huge thank you to these three for sharing their knowledge and insight on very late notice. Very late notice. So thank you all. As I said, they will be available throughout the rest of the day. Thank you so much for doing that. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you guys both for doing all this.